I know it's been a little delayed, and I know that it's been sort of all over the place, but you'll know that I've been looking at the Anno Domini Black Sabbath box set, the box set of Black Sabbath. And I've done it out of order because I did Headless Cross and Tear to start with, and then I had to go to Forbidden because I love it. I really like it, and I don't love it, I really like it. And a lot of people don't, and so I thought, I have to do it. But I sort of leapfrogged over this album. The album in question is Cross Purposes. Now then. Thing is, I think we can safely say, when this album comes out, that Black Sabbath are in a bit of a kind of flux. Because what you've had just before this is in the middle of the Tony Martin period, you've had Let's Get the Band Back Together. But which band? Well, Black Sabbath. But which version? Well, the Dio version, because Ronnie, James Dio, and Vinny Appice were invited back. And they produced the Dehumanizer album. You may have heard Time Machine, which was You're Living in a Time Machine, which was used for Wayne's World. And the album, Dehumanizer, one shot for this, one and done, I think is just an undiscovered classic. And although I'm jumping about in time scales, I'm going to have to go back to that one and uncover it for you, because a lot of people don't talk about it. I mean, more people talk about Never Say Die than they do about Dehumanizer, which, I mean, I love Dehumanizer. I think it's a great album. Love it. And this one came out just after. It is Tony Martin's last. It's a great cover, isn't it? Really nicely done. Tony Martin's last album with the band. You've got, of course, Tony Iommi there and Martin on vocals. You've got Geezer. Geezer would leave after this. And I must also talk about the GZR albums, because not a lot of people talk about them, do they? Geezer's solo album, or rather solo band, I suppose. Great albums, though. There's only 3 of them. They're all really good, particularly that first one. Anyway, he was here with Bobby Rondinelli on drums, and it does look like a bit of a sort of, well, here we are again. You know, and Tony Martin must have felt, and he's such a lovely guy that on all the interviews I've read and on clips I've seen, he doesn't seem to bear any ill will when they say, we're getting Dio in, so see ya. Oh, could you just come and... Yeah, thanks. I mean, I suppose he accessed the band in that sort of way because of Ray Gillan, and him having to sing Ray Gillan's parts, really, you know. It was for Eternal Idol, wasn't it? I think it was. And so he doesn't bear any ill will, but must have been a bit odd. The music itself is not that well thought of. Some people say it really straddles the different kinds of eras of Black Sabbath, and I can see that because what we've got here, quite a lot of driving, commercial, accessible rock. Eyewitness is straight into that stuff, drives through, but they've also got some big rock feels, you know, in there, and huge solos actually from Mr. Iommi, really big. Generally, everything is hung on that riff, and although he is a riff master, that was never the case with Black Sabbath. There was more to it than that. Geezer doesn't, you know, I love Geezer's groovy and sometimes funky bass lines. It's not a lot of that I can hear on this album. It sounds a bit workmanlike to me. Things would change for Forbidden, of course, which had the rap element in it of Ice-T and Ernie C from Body Count, Body Mother Loving Count, doing the rather thin, some people say, production. But at the time, as I've said in the previous podcast, that would be, well, we're at the cutting edge. Why wouldn't you grab hold of that? So, this is the album that comes before. Been forgotten, I think, and I can quite understand why. I mean, Cross of Thorns, which is the second track after that big Eyewitness, it's got a dramatic opening and it does get bigger, but you wonder why. You wonder where it's going. I like the grind of the kind of old school feel of the grind of Virtual Death. I've got my notes down here. But they have to give us a really rather soft and really rather mawkish ballad, which is Dying for Love. Dying for Love. It's almost as if they're saying, well, let's do a ballad in an ironic way. It's a bit like that, and I don't want that, to be honest. I really don't. Hand That Rocks the Cradle, though, what a groovy riff. Groovy. And, I mean, that's all it's got, but I love it. And it's perky and catchy, that riff in Back to Eden. It works really well. It's really easy on the ear, on the tabs, as we would call it in my neck of the woods, for a hard rock track. Evil Eye, though, is big, rough, doomy, guitaring all over the beginning of it. It's got that groovy riff again, which I love. It's simple, it's accessible, it's got a massive solo. You could stand on it and see your own house. I can see my house from here. It's got a bass and beat section that's really good. And then we finish with What's the Use? And I suppose I think a bit about that with this album. But, listening to it again, should I say, it's got more to it. Simple offer. I don't mind that. And What's the Use is the kind of rainbow driving rock feel with a frenetic solo from Mr. Iommi. I mean, he's a little bit excitable on these solos, and that's good. That's all to the good. It's all right, this album. Don't mind it. It's overlooked, but not as much as Dehumanizer. And I'm going to give you a barrel full of that very, very soon. However, this, worth a listen. Very much so. Maybe even two. Ta-ta.